Why am I here? Why am I trying to present this material to the YouTube audience? I remember being in a classroom, a high school classroom, with a physics teacher when a student was trying to get her attention while she was talking to me. And she said to the student, "I'm talking to Dr. Hafemann now. He's more valuable, he's more important than you are." I didn't correct her, but I should have. The truth is that in every classroom, the most valuable person in the room is the youngest. Young people are going to be living through things that an old guy like me can hardly imagine. And I feel that it's necessary for them to be prepared for what is coming. I used to be a scientist. I used to be a businessman. I used to be a college professor. I've even been a high school teacher for a year. And I value young people more than anyone else. The reason being, you're the ones who are going to face the consequences of our actions today. I feel apologetic. I feel ashamed of what my generation has done to the world and what this will do to your world. One aspect of this which I didn't think was going to be an issue during my lifetime was the existence of nuclear weapons. Lots of nuclear weapons on Earth, in the hands of people with barely the brains to run their own country, let alone use nuclear weapons. It's been 72 years since the last time nuclear weapons were used in anger in this world. But the next use is much closer than that. I can still remember September 11th, 2001. I was working at home on a software project, listening to NPR, when I got a call from my wife, who was teaching that day. She said, "Turn on CNN. You got to see what's happening in New York." I was a little confused because NPR had made no mention of anything happening in New York. So I went to the family room, turned on the television, just in time to see people jumping out of the first tower to be hit. There were these scenes of men in business suits jumping from 100 stories up to meet their fate on the pavement because they didn't want to burn to death. And I was watching when the second plane hit the other tower, and it was a lot to take in. But the most shocking thing I saw that day was news coverage of students in Cairo, Egypt, celebrating what had happened in New York City. I was confused by this because I'd visited Egypt as a tourist. People had been very friendly and hospitable toward me. I had no idea the degree of hatred toward the United States in the Middle East. And I thought about this on that first evening after the attack of 9/11. And I pride myself with being able to see the future now and then. And what I saw in the future was a mushroom cloud over America. If these people hate us this much, and have this much oil wealth to dispose of, then it's only a matter of time before we see the next mushroom cloud over America. So I thought back to my days as an undergrad at MIT, to the course in nuclear and radiochemistry that I took from a man called Charles Coriell. He had been the chief of fission product chemistry at Oak Ridge, Tennessee, during the Manhattan Project. And he was the only teacher I ever had who was willing to talk about his experiences in the Manhattan Project. He was probably breaking laws by doing so, but I appreciated it. And this rekindled my interest in exploring the Manhattan Project and in understanding the weapons which were created by it. I spent 6 or 7 years doing that. I traveled to Oak Ridge and Hanford and Los Alamos and the Trinity site. And I think I have a reasonable understanding now. But for me to have an understanding is not enough. It's necessary for you to have an understanding. You, the people who will live through this event. And so that's why I put together a presentation. I gave it at University of Wisconsin Extension. I had 60 people in the room, all of them over 40 years old. And they appreciated it. They sat through 5 hours on 4 days before I finally said goodbye to them. And I realized, as useful as it is to spread information to people my age and just a little bit younger than my age, I'm 76, it really isn't going to help. What I have to do, what I want to do with this YouTube channel, is to get this information into the minds of younger people. And so I'm not going to give you any hour-long lectures or anything like that. I'm going to structure this as a bunch of 15-minute or so videos. My own experience with YouTube is I rarely listen to an hour-long video. It's just too much of a time commitment. And what if the guy doesn't know what he's talking about? I would have wasted an hour. But I'll listen to almost anybody for 5, 10, or 15 minutes. If the guy has got his head up his ass, so what? I haven't wasted much time. So I hope you'll approach me in that way. I hope you'll give me some 15-minute segments of your time, because I really want to impart to you my understanding from 6 or 7 years of researching this stuff, which is really quite different from what you would have gotten in school or even in the popular books on the topic. There's a lot that's been concealed from us, and I think this concealment is a crime. We can't function as intelligent citizens of a democracy without knowing things. And the fact that this kind of knowledge, which is now spread all over the world, people in Iran, people in Pakistan, people in Israel, South Africa, even Libya, know this stuff, but you don't, because your government has kept it secret. Now, I need to tell you right off the bat that I have never had a security clearance. I am not a person who can tell you truly secret information. I'm just a person who has explored the subject in as much depth as possible for someone without a security clearance. So I can tell you all I know. It's not a government secret. It's stuff I have dug up from non-secret sources. And that's what I'd like to do over the course of these videos. Thanks.